is it?
I don't know.
Are we? Are we sure? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? This is a better
I
question.
don't know. I don't know anymore. It's a Friday, though. We've made it.
It's Friday. It's Friday, which means it's time for another Paint and Slay. Hi, everyone. I'm Vee. Above me is Lauren. And today is, well, it's a Mod Podge of minis.
Wait, do I need to have the Mod Podge too? I have it here.
Oh yes, you'll need Mod Podge for what we're gonna do with the Black Dragon base. So, yeah, you've been hanging out with us for the past couple weeks, and you know we've been kind of rotating between a couple of minis, the Black Dragon as well as the Flail Snail, both from D&D Nolzur's Marvelous Miniatures from WizKids. And today it's gonna be a two for Friday.
A two for.
We should have done this on Tuesday.
But only if we're going to continue to do 2 minis every single time, and
that's funny.
This is still a rarity.
Hey, that could be a new show, 2 for Tuesday.
It's all slap chop. It's all we're doing. Our 2 skeletons. We're doing 2 zombies. We're doing 2. Yeah, that could be fun.
That's all you get. Anyways, so we're going to be working on both of these minis today, pretty much completing the Black Dragon to the point of actually getting it onto the base, which we were working on last week. And just FYI, Lauren and I did a little bit more behind the scenes work by adding more foliage to this base, so we can move on to the next steps today. And then thank you, Bell Swin. Just saw those lovely donated gifts, gift subs. That's the word I want. And then we're going to jump into, once we do a couple things with the Black Dragon, let things dry, and we're going to continue working on this lovely Flail Snail, which Lauren and I have been wanting to do for ages. And we are going to get into using the effects paints that I talked about a few episodes ago, to make the snail shell really look even more cool and magical beyond just this multicolor thing we did a couple weeks ago. But before we get into that, oxygen, it's a good thing. Let's see here.
Breathe.
So, we have a couple things happening in the game first. Lauren, why don't you tell everyone what we can expect for the weekend?
Well, so we'll start with the regular stuff, as in, hey, look, it's a. I don't know how to say that word. Do you know how to say that?
That's why I threw it to you.
Astethier? I have not been able. Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
the Lady of Pain mask on there, so it's something related to Sigil. It's the Magical Secrets weekend. You know, I should have asked Dupuy in advance, because I saw that word come up and I went, and I'm going to have to say that word, and I should know better.
It's one of those D&D words like, I have seen this word many a time.
Yeah.
I've never had to say word.
Estathier. That's what I'm going to say. It's that chest. You're going to get that chest if you've signed up for our newsletter.
That's a chest.
It's a really cool looking chest. I just don't know how to say its name. If you know how to say its name, go ahead and let us know in the chat, or shoot us a message on social media and be like, here's how I say it. Because like all D&D words, my belief is whatever your DM says is true. So I am the DM right now, and I'm saying it's an Estessier. It's the Magical Secrets weekend, which means that these lovely champions over here are going to get a buff in your game. So if you are trying to get some final runs with Dynahair done and get some final chests, these champions are going to be able to help you out if you've got any other things going on. So yeah, make sure you keep an eye on your email. If you haven't signed up for our newsletter, definitely sign up for it. We send out 1 newsletter a week on Fridays that always includes a cool free gold chest with all sorts of fun things. And then every once in a blue moon, we send another email, also with free stuff, but usually it's about really, really cool, important things. We do not send 3 billion emails, which I say, as just this week, I had to tell some website to stop sending me emails.
Right.
So we try to be real good about that. Also, this weekend, actually, do you have? I have the link for it. The blog went live.
I have. I was going to say, has the blog gone live? Because the blog has tipped our cards for what to expect for next week. Correct?
Yes. So I'll go ahead and put the link in chat. The Events 2.0 preview blog just went live. It has been something that we've been talking about for a while, and it is going to be the next event comes on Wednesday, and it's going to be the new version of Festival of Fools. And hey, look who we're gonna have. So with all of the new events 2.0 events, you get 2 champions that get worked on because the event happens over multiple or longer weeks.
Great.
Most of the time, what you'll get is 1 brand new champion and 1 reworked champion. Although sometimes you might get 2 new or 2 reworked. This month for Festival of Fools, you're getting the new champion, the Dark Urge, and a reworked champion in Dadius. Now, usually on Fridays, we announce the new champion that comes out. But in this very specific case, I just saw people are excited about the Dark Urge. In this very specific case, because we're telling you about the blog or about the update to the event, we're giving you kind of that preview of who they are, but the spotlights will go out next week on Monday and Tuesday. So the blog and the video spotlights for the Dark Urge and Dadius will go out next week. But then once we get into the whole flow of things, you can expect the Thursday and the Friday before the event goes live to have the spotlights and the blogs so that you can be all ready on Wednesday for Festival of Fools. The blog has a ton of details in it about the specific changes and all of the new stuff you're going to get, and specifically about the flex slots. I know a lot of people have been asking about that, so it's kind of lays all that out for you. I think it even lists. No, it does not. That's okay. So it lists off basically how everything is going to work, and it tells you about a little bit about Dadius and the Dark Urge. So definitely check that out. And then on Monday and Tuesday will be, I'm going to make sure I get this right. I believe Dadius is on Monday.
And then Dark Urge is on Tuesday.
Dark Urge on Tuesday. And then Wednesday they go live.
And they're here.
So, yeah. So go ahead and check that out. If you do have any questions about that, or about Idle Champions in general, or about painting, feel free to ask in chat. We have the amazing Gabe as our moderator grabbing questions. I'm going to do my best to answer questions, but it's a big blog and there's a lot that's going on. And I think Vee and I talked about this last week. This has been something that the whole team has been working on for a while because it's something that we've wanted to do for our community for a very long time, is upgrade how awesome these events are and how much we can give to you. So they've gone through some revisions. So I ask in advance a little bit of patience. If you ask a question and both of us go, let me double check, because we want to make sure that we're giving you the most up-to-date information. But go check out the blog. The blog is 100% all of the cool stuff going on.
Exactly.
There.
Ta-da.
That was a lot.
It was.
Yay.
Was
there anything else we needed to talk about?
No, but I can confess what always makes me start cracking up when we have our morning stand-ups and people are talking about Dadius and the Dark Urge. And they've started shortening to Dirge. I've been hearing Daddy Dirge.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, this is like a very different spin.
Yeah. Every time I say... There's a reason that I've been saying the Dark Urge and Dadius, because if I put it in the other direction, then there is a non-zero chance that that's what is going to come out of my mouth. And that is not a conversation I want to have. So, yes, if you hear people talking about Dirge, that's actually a term that the Baldur's Gate community uses for the Dark Urge. It's not something we came up with. No. Kind of the same way Tav is the unofficial name of whatever the player character is. So yeah, if you hear anyone talking about Dirge, that means our favorite dragonborn murder sorcerer over there. So
there we go. Okay, awesome. So with all that in mind, let us jump back into our fantastic minis. So basically this dragon is pretty much done, except we need to put a black wash on it. Literally, we have to put a black wash on. There wasn't enough time last week, and I didn't want to muddy the colors because these colors were still very new and freshly applied for the wings. So basically just grab your black wash and start applying. Depending on which black wash you use, I always recommend that you check it first. Because sometimes washes have a tendency to be more pigmented than others. So say if you're not used to using, I hate calling out specific brands, but I have found with Army Painter washes, they tend to run a little bit more pigmented than other washes, and I have to thin those out big time. So if you're not used to that or if aware of this, you might go from using one particular brand and be like, oh yeah, I can totally just apply and go. You might grab the other brand because you ran out of the other one and the store doesn't have that color you need in stock. So you're like, oh, I'll just buy this one. And then you've obliterated all your colors because it's more of a glaze than it is a wash. So always check
I
your
don't
washes.
Yeah,
Hmm?
I don't think that's a call out. I think that is a very natural thing. I mean, we've learned with paints just in general that
Yeah.
every paint is going to be a little bit different, and so it's not that one wash is better or worse than the other. They're just different consistencies. So I think it's a good
So
thing to
yeah.
watch out for.
So I just grabbed the one from the D&D Prismatic paint line, and this is exactly what you want to see. You can see that it's starting to pool into the recesses of my skin's texture, but it doesn't completely block out my skin tone underneath. You can still see that there is a flesh tone that exists. Um, Especially with a black dragon, it'll work out nicely. If
Yeah.
it is something where you don't want the black to really sort of translate into things like your warmer tones, that's where I would recommend jumping into a brown wash or an umber type of situation. So with that
Okay.
in mind, we can start applying this basically to the whole dragon. And I think what I'm going to do is start with the wings so that by the time I need to get to the body, I can pinch one of the wings and complete painting.
Yeah. I'm doing the same thing for that reason, but also because I think the wings are going to have the most dramatic change, what with it having the
They
blue
absolutely will.
undertone, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of excited to see it.
Yep. Of course, my camera's not quite picking. Let me shift a little bit. Will that help?
And
Yep.
while you were shifting, we did get a question
Ooh,
from Vanderak. Thank you for the stream and for your efforts. Oh, thank you. We have a
thank
lot of
you.
fun. Question: Is Dadius been reworked for the better because I love him? Yes. So whenever we talk about a rework, we're pretty much always talking about an improvement. And specifically in Dadius's case, he was a champion that was released in the first year of the
Yeah.
game. Early enough in the life of the game that there actually isn't an original blog for Dadius.
Yeah.
The blog that's going to be coming out for him on Monday is the first one because way back in the day they didn't do blogs. So yes, the purpose of the rework is specifically with Dadius, his kit's a little outdated. His the game has changed quite a bit. There's been at least 100 new champions that have come out, and so it is a rework to basically bring him up to speed with the rest of the champions to make him someone that's going to be able to hold his own, because you know what, Dadius has an ego and Dadius thinks he's awesome. And so, while we can't make his ego go away. We can at least make him as awesome as he thinks he is.
There
So
we go.
yes, these reworked champions in general, especially for the events, they're going to be champions that just need an update or an upgrade or a change because something in the game has changed, and we want to make sure that this champion is still usable and viable and fun. And yeah, I like Dadius too. He's lots of fun. He was my
Yeah.
main DPS for quite a while at the beginning of the game.
Makes sense. Okay, so I'm trying to get the lighting so it's not flashing back the moisture too much. But you can see
Yeah.
this is a wing completely covered compared to a wing that is not. So remember how I
Yeah.
said, I know this is looking very blue right now, but wait for the wash?
Here we
That's
are.
why. That's
We are
why.
here.
It definitely helps to keep in mind, depending on when you're applying your wash, to keep in mind what that wash will do to those colors. I knew using that blue, it was going to get grayed out, but what I wanted to do is have an interesting undertone to that grayed out. So this will dry and still have a bluish tone to it, but it's going to be more of a darker gray blue as opposed to a blue gray.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the fun thing. And then it's
Which
just
means
going to
we're
keep
going to have a
going.
black dragon. That is a black dragon, but is not just the boring, flat, has no texture black.
Yeah, that's just it.
Oh, Fool Oops asks, what do you do with or about mold lines? That's a question. That's a
That
good
is
question
a
we
good
haven't had in a
question.
little while.
Yeah, so there's a few things you can do with mold lines. The first tip I'm going to give you is going to send you to the nail section of any store, department store, or beauty store, and you can get yourself some nail files, the kind that are the pads that have the varying degrees of grit. It's just like sandpaper. And then it's going to sound funny, get the refill options for the nail file blocks, because those refill options are going to be just strips. And those strips you can actually manipulate and get into tighter spaces and use as you need to, and use the finer grit options for those. And you could buff down the mold line. If you're doing that, you're definitely going to need to re-prime any mini that's come primed ahead of time. If you're priming afterwards, that's obviously a moot point. You can also get something called a mold line remover. Companies like Citadel and WizKids, they have these. Where's
Don't
mine?
have mine handy.
I have mine handy, but it's also, it likes to hide. Here it is. So this is a mold line remover. So it has this lovely little hook to the side of it. It doesn't, well, I mean, if you hit yourself hard enough, you could gouge yourself, but it's not something that you can slice yourself with. But it is effective enough to sort of slip off that mold line that is raised on your resin mini. So a mold line remover is also another viable option. Another thing that people will do, and this is one that I preface with extreme caution, use under your own decision-making skills as a grown adult. Children, no. You can use a penknife and very carefully whittle away the mold line, but that's something you could risk the knife slipping, getting your hand, and hello emergency room, which is why I don't often recommend that approach unless you are highly experienced and not easily distracted. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. If you are going to go that route, as someone who is highly experienced with incredibly sharp knives, as an oboe player who has to make oboe reeds all the time, I have two suggestions for you. One, get yourself, if you are looking at one of those knives, one of those really sharp knives, make sure it is really, really sharp.
Yes.
And that sounds like, but you're about to talk about how dangerous these are. The problem with when people often get hurt with those knives is because they've gotten just dull enough,
Yeah.
that you now have to like force it. It should be the kind of thing in where it's going to cut easily and smoothly so that you can have a lot of control over it. So if you're like, oh yeah, I've worked with those knives before and I feel very comfortable with it, but the one that you pull out has been kind of used and sitting in your drawer for a while, either use something else or get a new one. The other recommendation comes straight from my oboe teacher from literally decades ago, which is this is important. And I'm going to pretend I'm holding up a knife. This is not.
Yeah.
If you drop the knife, don't try to catch it with this.
Nope.
Let it fall. Get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And that might not be the not everybody is going to have that instinct. You drop things and we all kind of want to catch them, especially if it's something expensive like my reed knives, which are several $100s. But trust me, you will much rather want to buy a new knife than have to go to the doctor because you sliced open your hand.
And
so those are my, yeah.
It's not worth
and
it.
if any of that is making you go, get yourself the nail file. It's
this or the nail file. Seriously, they both will do the job. They just require slightly more time.
Exactly.
And it's one of those things where if you're not sure if your blade is sharp enough for slicing a mold line, if you can take a piece of paper held on the vertical to you and able to take a knife and like tap it and it starts slicing it, that blade is sharp enough. If you hit the blade against the piece of paper and it makes the paper bend, that knife is not sharp enough.
Yep.
Okay.
There we go. That has been your knife safety PSA for today.
Yeah. And again, the knife is only for people over the age of 18.
Yes. we may be a PG-13 stream, but in this case we are this is an over 18 only.
Tweens and teens, and I know. Yeah, no. Sorry, kiddos.
Yeah, it's one of those things in where, to be honest, it's getting rid of a mold line or making it be not as prominent is not so important of a thing to risk slicing open your hand.
Yeah, I mean, well, okay, that's the funny thing. I can speak from experience, not from a knife, but you'll notice I wear a ring on this hand a lot, and that's to hide a scar. This is from when I worked at a flower shop. One of the vases was falling from a shelf. I got stupid, and I don't like to use that word often, but I got stupid and I went to try and catch the vase and smashed it against the shelf, and a piece of glass sliced into my finger. It almost cut a tendon, like they had to get the plastic surgeon in to make sure everything was like sewed up properly. Oof. Thankfully, I'm fine. But I learned from that the vase was 50 cents. Okay?
Well, yeah. Well,
so
and
it's not worth hurting yourself over an object.
Exactly. And I would gently dispute your characterization because the honest truth is the instinct of a lot of people when you drop something, especially dropping something that you know is either fragile and or expensive,
Mm-hmm.
is to try to catch it. That is just a lot of people's instincts. And it took me a fair amount of time to unlearn that instinct, which at this point is an interesting thing because now my instinct when I drop things is not to catch it, is to step away
Mm-hmm.
from it.
Yeah.
But that does mean the few times that I drop, say, a kitchen knife or my reed knives or something, I'm not going to get sliced by it. But it's just a natural instinct for people to
Yeah.
have that takes a while to unlearn. And you know what? That might not be something you want to unlearn because when you drop something, maybe you do want to be able to catch it. But in this case, never catch a knife. Never try. It's never going to go well.
No. The
It's
knife's
it's
gonna win.
Murphy's Law. You will always catch a knife by the blade.
Yeah. Well, the only reason I say it was stupid on my part is because I grew up with a house full of like cooks and bakers, so I was trained at a very early age. Sharp stuff you don't try and catch. My brain was just like, you know,
It just happened. Yeah,
just did its thing. I already knew that don't do it sharp stuff, but hey,
but it happens. We all make
it
mistakes.
did. It did.
I
Uh,
saw Caliph Marin saying, I don't trust myself with penknives or box cutters. Listen, that is totally not just fair, but a
yeah.
smart thing to do. Like, those are sharp objects that can very easily, everyone kind of looks at like the penknife or a box cutter and they're just like, oh, anyone is supposed to use that. But not, no,
No.
no, it's perfectly normal and fair for you to look at a a object that can cause damage and be wary.
Yeah.
I,
Absolutely.
I am here to validate your fears. That's not exactly how I wanted to say that. I'm here to validate your
That
caution.
instincts.
Yes. Also look at these wings.
I know it's so satisfying to kind of watch this all fade into the dark and mooding colors.
Yeah. And when you say all over with this, that includes
All over.
horns,
Oh yeah.
underbelly, all the
Yep. Just
places.
did the horns. The one thing you
Yep.
want to check with the horns is that it doesn't puddle too much, because these
Mm.
have so much texture in them. You might find you need to kind of swish it around and move it. But yeah.
Oh, there you go. Void TV 35 says a falling knife has no handle. My mother always used to say that to me.
Ooh, I
That's a good
like
way of putting
that.
that. I like that a lot. And much more succinct than the way my oboe teacher put it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's good. I like that
That
proverb.
is
That's real
that is
good.
yeah.
And it's true. It's like when you drop a sandwich, it's always gonna land, open face down.
Mm-hmm.
When you drop a knife, you're always gonna catch it by the blade.
This is so
I had a
satisfying.
fun. I'm gonna move to a happier knife topic that
Yes.
doesn't involve that. Luke was asking about knife sharpening stuff,
Mm-hmm.
for basic kitchen knives. Um, and I have some really nice knife sharpening blocks. I even have one of the really nice diamond stones.
Ooh,
Which if you don't know what that is, it's
they're
exactly what it sounds like. It is a
they're
stone
cool.
that has little ground up diamonds on it so that you can get really, really sharp, really fine points on your knives. So it's been kind of fun to use some of those outside of oboe reed making.
Nice.
All right.
Look at this. Look at this boy.
Yay.
Oh, this is such a satisfying part.
Yeah. I'm a fan of the washes.
Well, I also like it when it's for creatures like this where people are like, well, it's a black dragon. It's supposed to be really dark. I'm like, yes, yes, just one moment. Let me get there. It's coming. It's the big reveal.
Yeah. Well, it'll
Just,
be interesting once it dries because I
mm-hmm.
could also see there being spots in where I might want to go back and even
Oh, you
do a
absolutely could if
second
you want to
coat. Yeah,
enhance.
depending
Yeah.
depending on what's going on. But I'll let it completely dry first
Oh,
because otherwise
absolutely. Yeah.
I'll
You
do
don't
too
want to
much.
obliterate.
But washes are fun.
They are, and I'm getting to that point where I'm literally holding on by the tip of its tail, so I gotta find a new hold place.
I got ow.
Can I? Yes. Okay. Cool. I can shift to pinching one of the wings, and that'll do the trick.
I've been trying to be uh, cautious about how much of the wash I put down to use so that I'm not just using way too much.
Right.
But I've had to now put more down 3 different times. I think I'm being
Yeah,
too judicious.
there's a lot of texture on this, so the wash is going to settle faster than you realize, especially in the recessed areas.
Yeah.
But now you can see how this has put everything into a more blackened tone, which is what we want.
Tickle the feet.
Tickle the tootsies.
Yeah. I appreciate all the folks talking in chat about their own experiences or experiences that they know of, people who have had whoopsies with sharp objects. For the sake of content warnings, I will not read any of those out loud. However, I do appreciate the sharing, so thank you.
Yep. All right. So, I can actually bring this back over because we're not going to as much flare. You can see how this has given this fantastic enhancement. And now he needs to dry. So I'm going to set this up here.
I'm almost done. I'm on the tail right
Very
now.
Cool. All right. So now we're going to move on to flail snails for painting stuff. So that's something we're going to jump into. But before we get there, let me explain what's been going on with these bases. So like I said before, Lauren and I went through continuing those aquarium plants that we showed you the other week, last week, and finished putting on a few more around this base. Okay, the whole reason to paint the rocks to look a bit more like swampy green was because I knew these plants were going to go on top, and it's just a fun way to sort of blend things together a little bit more. So this is what it ends up looking like, and all this was attached using E6000, which at the time of when you adhere it to the base, you get a little bit more wiggle room, okay? So you can kind of move things around here and there a touch as you're starting to plot out where you want everything to end up. Once you let that glue cure, it is nice and securely in the base without marring the paint underneath, which sometimes can happen with super glue. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, we're going to take this base, dippity, and attach it to the base, the clear disc base.
Yeah.
Right now. So for that, you'll need super glue.
I also need the base.
You know all about that base. About that base. No.
I'm always wary about the clear bases that I'm gonna lose it. So I have a place that I've been putting all of the bases, but then I have to find it. I think this is the size. Is this the? Yeah, that looks like the one. Okay.
Okay. So I've just edged around the base because this is recessed. If you try and put super glue in the recessed area, it's not gonna stick. So you have to put it around the edging area where that's a raised portion, and just give it a couple seconds to catch the air. That actually helps the adhesive factor.
Oh, we're gonna need chat's help. It's that time
nice.
again. It's been a while.
It has been. So that is now ready to get placed on the base disc. And this one is clear. So I'm just going to place it down here and let it live there for a little bit to make sure it sticks. But you can see that now you have a little bit more visual interest to your base by doing this. If you want to take this up a notch and do additional work on it, you could, to enhance it further. When I was first doing this, I had pulled out these lovely things, but with the clear base, what you're gonna have to do is paint underneath it to black out the bottom. And then you can attach fun little
Oh.
things like these battlefield rocks by putting Mod Podge onto the surface here and then sprinkling these on. But quite frankly, now that I've stuck this on and I see how it's looking, I kind of don't want to do that anymore. I like just how the base looks
Yeah.
with the swamp leaves and stuff. So I'm going to leave my base like this. But if you want to do further enhancement, like I said before, if you have a clear disc, you're going to need to black this out. So put black paint on the bottom, underneath, not on the top. Underneath is important. And then put Mod Podge around where you see the openings here, and you can sprinkle those little stones on, and it'll stick on there. But yeah, I'm liking this too much to want to add more to it. Now that I'm seeing it
Yeah,
come together.
I think I'm the same way, especially since I know how this dragon is going to be cantered a little
That's
bit
just
on the
it.
base.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think
Yeah. So we're gonna let that. So really, we don't need that Mod Podge, Lauren. So I want to let this dragon dry completely before doing anything else to it. Also, if you got any paint on this post, all you need to do is take a cotton swab, like so, put rubbing alcohol on it, and you just literally rub the paint carefully away. And that's all it'll take to get removed. So these are going to stay up there and dry for a little bit. So now what we're going to do is jump back over to our Flail Snail. I love how we're going from very dark and ominous to colorful.
to all the shiny.
To all the colors. I'm so happy about this. Here, get here. ASMR.
Oh, I think Zoom might be noise gating it a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. Maybe the Twitch chat heard it,
Chat
but
may
do it again.
have.
Yeah.
Good chillin', black out the
Yeah.
base, because if you don't, what's going to happen is any pieces that the stones didn't connect to underneath, you'll see these weird clear bits poking through. And when you go and you place it on top of stuff, it's just going to be sort of a jarring effect. So it's better to black out the base on the bottom, then sprinkle the stones on top, then try and sprinkle the stones on top, and then have these weird clear patches that you could either go back and try and paint brown in, but it's just, honestly, it's just easier to black out the bottom. So that's why. Okay, so going back to our... Oh my goodness, all these notes. Where did we leave off? Okay,
Yeah,
so
today is one of those days. I was telling V, I have a whole extra little... I have my music stand being used as an extra place to put stuff, because between both minis, there's a lot going on.
There's really, truly a lot happening. Okay, so we're going to go for Bloody Red. Again, these are the D&D prismatic paints that we're using. Bloody Red is just your classic primary red. Neither cold nor warm. It's just straight down the path red that you'd find in any paint set. So we're going to take Bloody Red, and we're going to start painting Bloody Red on the tips of the flails. And we're going to stop with Bloody Red about here-ish, Lauren.
Okay.
Sort of like a third away down of the stalk, including the flail itself. So we want to stop right about there.
Am I seeing this right, that it almost looks like that part of the stalk has a different texture than the other 2/3?
Some of them do, not all of them do. So think about this as like, when I say third, I'm looking at the eye stalks from the base where the webbing starts ending to the tip of the flail. So break it into thirds. So eyeball about a third.
Okay. Oh, and I'm going to need to water this down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely water these. Whoa, holy crow. Mine needs to be watered down big time. It just came out like a tube of toothpaste.
Yeah. Bloody Red is thick. Whether on purpose or not.
Coagulation.
Right? Caleb Marin wants to know anything doing for St. Patrick's Day or with Lego at all? We're getting into the good weather and holidays now.
I mean, I just putting together some Legos, flower Legos that Tanya got me, Cypher Chair got me for a birthday present. Those are so much fun to do. It's definitely
awesome.
That could become an obsession of mine. So I've learned I got to start saving Lego sets as gift suggestions.
Nice. For me, no Lego plans. But that's mostly just because of time and money, not because of want. Because, yeah, I really. There's a Lego store not too far from me. It is a dangerous place for me to go. And I know there's the D&D Lego stuff coming out, and I really desperately want to
Oh.
go take a look and maybe get some of that.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I believe Luke and I are going to be doing something for St. Patrick's Day, as my lovely partner is a McKay, and that is a normal day for him to enjoy. I believe our current plan is to go see some friends and hang out. Um, but yeah, as soon as the D&D Lego become available, I'm definitely going to go take a look at size and price
Mm-hmm.
because the
Both
pictures
are
I've seen
important.
online look real cool.
Yeah.
Uh Also, hi TTRP gifts. Welcome.
Hello.
We just restarted under Flail Snail. Um
Flail
yeah, the Lego
Snail.
D&D sets are just oof. I'm very excited about those.
Yeah.
There's that one, and then the other one that I always have to prevent myself from buying
Oh.
because it's so expensive, but it's so gorgeous. Um it's actually been out for a while. They did the Sydney Opera House in Lego,
Oh yeah.
and it's huge. And
It's a
it's
beautiful piece. Yeah.
oh, it's gorgeous, but it is several $100s of Lego that
Yeah, it
is
is.
that is not always something in my ability to buy. So every
Yeah.
time that's why the Lego store is so dangerous because they usually have that one right out front.
Because they know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
They
Uh-huh.
totally know what they're doing.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Although it's been a hot minute since I've been to the Lego store. So maybe they've
Hey.
got something else, but that Sydney Opera House. And I know that might be cliche for me, the
No,
obelisk,
I
to say, but
think
it's such a gorgeous
it's a beautiful
building.
building. Like, oh, it's iconic. Seriously.
Yep. It's gorgeous and unique. And then yeah, the whole with it being an opera house on top of that. But it is uh I also kind of view those massive Lego sets the same way when I was talking about getting the unpainted Tiamat
Mm-hmm.
mini, quote unquote,
Yeah.
of like I'm I think I want it more for the actual joy of putting it together or painting it in the minis case.
Right.
And then once it's done, I have nowhere to put it and nothing to do with it,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
So until I actually have a place to display something of that magnitude, that also helps in my avoiding buying something that I will
Mm-hmm.
not not regret in the sense of being upset that I got it, but regret in the sense of I didn't prepare for this
I
moment.
didn't think of where it would go. Now, I will say,
Mm-hmm.
with these flails, keep moving this mini around in all these different angles because it's very easy to miss a spot with these spikes on the flails.
Yeah.
The other thing I did is just kind of took a paintbrush and slightly feathered the side of it so I don't have a hard edge to finish it. So that's
Okay.
another important thing to keep in mind as you're doing these.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of poking on the flail to get in
Pokebook. Yeah. It's a
all
pokey
the
flail.
places. Okay, Lith Marin says, I worked at Lego over the holidays, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That is okay, that's
That's
both cool,
willpower.
but also, yeah, good on you for being able to resist bringing home all of the Lego.
Like, there are just certain places I know I should not be employed. Craft stores. Don't let me work at a craft store. I will be paying them to employ me, is what it's going to end up being.
Yeah. All right.
This is
Okay.
such a
Let's
satisfying
put
color
you
to get
that
down,
way.
though.
Um, let's see. Seeker 30K wants to know, are you escargoing to do any treatment to the base of the flail snail? Sorry, not sorry.
No, I honestly, this is such a unique mini, and it's not one you see a lot. I actually don't want to deter from the mini itself by overdoing its base. The reason why I want to do something fun with the black dragon is because it is a heavier tone of color being used, with it being a black dragon. So I wanted to offset the darkness of the black dragon with something a little bit more colorful in the base. That's why I thought let's do something fun with the base for that one. Plus, let's nod to the fact they love to be in swamps. Hello,
Yeah.
swamp jargon as our code today.
Yeah.
But this flail snail It's going to have all these really cool painting techniques involved with it. I would rather have it showcased as its own piece than try and do something cool with its base, and the base gets more of the attention than the snail.
Yeah, there is such a thing as too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
And the flail snail is already a riot of color, so yeah. Letting the shell be the thing that everybody's going to focus on. All right, time to do the thing and where I just keep turning every corner to find all the places that I missed.
That's just it.
It's just that time.
And turn, and turn, and turn.
Mm-hmm. It's the turn it in all of the ways and then also prevent myself from crouching over looking at stuff. It's like, no, I can turn this mini.
Crouching
I will
tiger,
make the mini
flail snail.
Yeah. Oh, yep. And there's all right. Well, if there's still a spot missing, it is hidden enough
There you go.
that I can't immediately see it. But this is also not a color that we have mixed, so if and when I find an offending spot, it'll be easy to fix. Blank.
Yep. Although, as you said, I'm like, I think we are mixing something. We shall see.
Oh, that's okay.
As soon as I review my notes, I'll be like, oh, yeah, remember you said we weren't mixing anything?
Well, and I meant specifically with
Not
the
bad.
red itself,
Yeah.
but, if we end up
But at
mixing
least
on there.
it's, you can just go right to the bottle. That sounds horrible.
Exactly. Exactly. I think. All right. I way underestimated the amount of wash I was going to need and had to refill that several times. And I way overestimated the amount of red I was going to need.
Hey, that's okay. Better more than not enough. And honestly, it's
That's
okay,
true.
especially with washes. It's kind of better to keep adding as needed than to keep overusing, like keep pouring out wash and or have used too much. Because washes do not go back in the bottle nicely. Let's put it that way. Once they're out, they're done.
Does anything go back in the bottle nicely?
No, I have been able to take some paints, like where I overloaded a paint palette and have been able to, with just a scraper or a little edge of a knife, been able to scrape paint back into a bottle. Like obviously you do that sort of like right away and not as it's been sitting out for a while, but washes, it doesn't work so well. Just by nature of a wash.
Also, since I'm using a paper plate, I don't know if that would work quite so well. It tends to dry much faster.
Yeah.
Okay. TTRP Gifts wants to know, are there any activities you like to do if and when you paint minis offline? Watching a movie, listening to music, yelling at stuck paint. Oh, I like this. I like this look he's got. He's got a good answer to this.
It's funny. There's so many minis I could look at right now and be like, oh, that's my such and such show mini. That's my such and such show mini, because I will binge shows while I paint. Yep. Yeah, I tend to put on a TV show and just listen to it while I paint along. Is my go-to.
Makes sense.
And it's like and what's funny is I've tried to do actual plays and listen to like, yo, I'm painting a D&D mini. I should listen to a D&D thing. I can't. I either lose focus on the mini or I lose focus on the AP. I can't do both. It's an oddity. Yeah, but I can totally have a TV show going on in the background and not lose focus on either. There's something about actual plays and trying to paint a mini at the same time. My brain's just like, no, I'm not going to.
So I'm curious, and maybe chat can also chime in if this is the case for you or not. I'm the opposite in where I have an easier time. I do a lot of lurk and work with actual plays, having them on. And while I don't do sun yellow, or I think I've got the gold yellow.
We're going to mix this and make this like an orangier tone.
Cool.
So put a drop of that into what you have left of your red. If you don't have the red, then just do sort of equal parts.
I got plenty of red.
And hi.
And hi.
And sun yellow. Sorry, Rory is little girl. Oh, she just walked away. She was sticking her little face out right here and tapping me with her little paw on my leg. Pardon me. Excuse me. Pardon me, Mom.
Yep. Yep. Time
Ma,
for you to pay attention to
mama.
me.
Oh,
Yeah.
now
So
she's
with
here.
actual plays, I do a lot of lurk and work. I listen to a lot, and I have an easier time um splitting my attention between those two
Mm-hmm.
than say a show or a movie. It's harder for me with a movie. I think part of that is because I just do so much with actual plays, and part of it is because a lot of the actual plays that I enjoy can essentially be radio plays because I do
Mm-hmm.
enjoy a good theater of the mind, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's different for everybody. And I also recognize that I have this is going to be a weird thing for me for me to say. I have a lot of practice. I've I
Oh
have
yeah.
spent many, many, many years with actual plays on in the background while I do things. At first, because I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
Like I many, many years ago, when Wizards of the Coast, this was many, many years ago, they had basically a full Twitch schedule
Roster.
full of
Yeah.
shows. One of my first TTRPG jobs was I was their moderator. And so
So there you go.
that's what I did was I moderated all those shows, I answered questions, all those kind of things. And so that does require a little bit of that split attention because you need to be paying attention to both the
Mm-hmm.
show and to the chat.
Yeah.
And then yeah, slowly from there, done. I've just kept doing it.
There
I'm
you go.
watching.
Okay, so we want it to be like this brighter, fiery orange color.
Okay.
And then we're going to work in the mid third and pull this pink color up towards the bloody red.
Okay. All right. So Caliph Marin says it depends on what I'm watching. I like watching a specific show or movie for a special project. Like 2 years ago, working on my cosplay for Gen Con, watched all three Hobbit movies and started Lord of the Rings while working on my armor design. I, that's kind of cool to have like a theme.
Yeah.
Uh, TTRP Gift says, I'm the same as V. I can listen to a movie or a show, but not an AP. Music just fades into the background too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, music is, I have to listen to it, but that's once again, I'm a
Well, that makes
classical
sense.
musician.
Yeah, that makes sense considering what your focus is.
Yeah.
And you'll see what I'm doing is actually I'm carrying my brush strokes up into the bloody red because I do want this to blend a little bit into it. Oh my god.
What did they do?
Look.
Hi. Everybody in chat say hi to the kitty. It's that time.
I'm looking down to paint and I just keep seeing her looking up at me like, hi, Mama. Mama,
Mm-hmm.
hi.
Why
Mama,
aren't
I'm
you
cute. You can
why
paint
aren't you
me.
featuring me? I am adorable.
She's actually learning if she puts her head in a certain spot, she's vicariously getting pet because the wrist action of painting is sort of rubbing alongside her head.
I love it.
She's smart, this one. She really is. I've had many a cat
Spicy
in my
Court.
history.
Oh yeah. Spicy Corsair says, I have a hard time focusing.
Boys home.
Sky high anxiety issues causing ADD, ADHD behaviors. So I like to focus on one thing at a time. Since I started watching Twitch, it's getting easier to listen to music, streamers, etc. while doing something else. Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely different for everybody. Um, I think it also can be like a day by day thing. Like some
Mm-hmm.
days it's just easier for me to split my focus like that. Some days I realize real quickly, oh, I can usually split my focus, but today I'm just completely ignoring this thing to do the other
Mm-hmm.
thing. So,
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely times I'm like, I have to go utterly heads down and I cannot have anything else distracting me. Like, there's just no way. Um,
yeah.
like, quite frankly, oftentimes it happens when I'm having to do PowerPoint presentations.
Mm,
I need to not have as much distractions on or around me.
yeah.
But once the document is basically pulled together, then I can put something on because my thoughts are in front of me on the slides.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But when I'm first starting the creation, it has to be like, no, I must focus.
I definitely know if I am writing things. Like
Mm,
if I'm working on a blog, uh I'm pretty much ignoring whatever the thing is I have on in the background.
that's
It's
fair.
helpful to have for when I need that brain break from thinking about writing. But writing is definitely one of those that I can't type good and split focus. Uh
Yeah, see, for me, writing, I always go to my deep house music.
hmm,
Like that's like laser focus. As soon as that music goes on, I'm like, and we write. So whenever I'm like plotting out a D&D campaign or what have you, that's what's, if I'm sitting there with earbuds in, I'm not listening to anything else but the deep house music stuff.
mm, that makes sense. Sorry, I
Yeah.
had to fix. I
Oh,
got
I
orange in a
figured.
place I didn't want
That's
orange.
okay. Totally okay.
It's like, nope, nope, you're not supposed to go there.
Not allowed, not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Rory's favorite just got home, so she's no longer with me.
She'll
Like
be
I
back.
Oh, she will, but anytime favorite comes home, she's like, "Bye. It's
Mm-hmm.
my favorite. Bye."
But she'll be back. They
Uh-huh.
always come back.
Oh, she will. Absolutely.
Okay. Are we at the point with this color that we're connecting to the yellow, or should there still
Not There should
be?
still be a little bit of play with all of
Okay, good.
these.
That's kind of what I thought, but I
Kind of
wanted.
like candy corns right now.
Yeah, I remember those candy corns.
Yeah. Okay,
Those were fun.
so if you're done with that lovely orange we just mixed together,
Yes.
then we're gonna go to off white and adding it to that mix we've just made
Okay.
to lighten that mix up.
Ew. Oh.
What happened?
Nah, it's off white just to add stuff.
Off white was
It
off.
had one of those hard caps on the top of the
Oh,
paint
it
when
plugged
I
up.
opened it
Yeah,
up. It was just ew.
I did pack it away by accident. My bad. And I'll do a color swatch next to it so you can see the color I'm aiming for.
Yes, please.
No problem.
Some more water because it's just these colors are wonderful, but they all seem to be the thickest paints.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm noticing too. Oh, nice. Okay, so the color you're aiming for is more peachy.
Okay. Yeah. I think I got that.
There you go. But like you, I need to add a little bit of water to this mix because it's thickening up on me as I add these other colors that are also thick. There we go, that's better.
And now is
Much
this the
better.
point that we're connecting colors?
Yes, at this point we will be connecting the colors together.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Cool, cool, cool.
Cool, cool, cool.
All right, let's start with you.
Love how vivid these colors are.
I love a good rainbow.
Mm-hmm. And same thing, I'm going to pull this color up the stalk, but I'm gonna let it start a little bit over where that delineation was where we ended before. So kind of blending on both sides. But the side that's meeting up with the taupe is getting more feather blended, and the other one is getting swept up.
This is the point where we're getting on the inside where the the flails are swooped back is a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a challenge.
It's a little bit hinky.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to look something like that.
Yeah. I'm getting close. I'm having an easier time getting the blending up into the reds that we've been doing
Mm-hmm.
than the yellow that we did before.
Mm-hmm.
I get so distracted doing the flails, and I need to keep looking at the chat.
What does the chat say?
Oh, they're talking about how sometimes it's good to have earplugs, and some
Oh,
days it's good
yeah.
to have like noise canceling headphones, and some days you can kind of deal with talking
Mm-hmm.
and multitasking and things. And yeah, uh, I have I have a really good set of noise canceling headphones that I'll sometimes use if say I want to go into the living room and work and my partner is in there working as well because that's his office is over there. So I'll pull those out so that way I'm not bothering him and I can still listen to music and stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
Um I don't have a pair of earplugs that work like normal earplugs because all of my earplugs are musician related.
Mm,
And so they're not necessarily the kind of thing that helps in the traditional sense of earplugs.
right.
Uh, because what they're meant to do is uh I have two sets, one which basically just cancels out more of the high frequencies,
Mm-hmm.
and one which basically just helps bring everything down just a notch.
Right.
Um, and so one is for if you're in they're both for like different specific situations for orchestral playing,
Mm-hmm.
but neither like the one that brings everything down a notch, it's not necessarily enough for people who are like, I need some earplugs. They'd put these in and go, these aren't earplugs. Nothing is being plugged. It's like,
Right.
well, it I just need enough so that
Mm-hmm.
the trumpeter behind me can play forte and not make me deaf, but I still need to be able to hear everything else going on.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They're also fun, weird looking headphones for sure, earplugs for sure, because they don't, I think most people think of just like the foam things that you stick in your
Mm-hmm.
ear, which are nice and work great for what you're talking about. Um, the one specifically that I use the most, which is the one that just brings everything down a notch, they're rubber with a hole in the middle. And they come in a bunch of different sizes. So I have ones that are closely the size of my ears. I don't quite have the money to buy the
The
real
custom
nice
ones.
ones that are
Yeah.
uh, completely shaped to my ears.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't necessarily need that. I am not a piccolo player and I don't play in a big band, so I don't necessarily need earplugs all the time.
Awkward angle. Awkward angle.
So it's not webbing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it is.
It is
So
kind
this
of, yeah.
part in between the flails that
Mm-hmm.
aren't the head,
Oh,
that is an
these things?
interest. No,
No.
the actual like
Yeah.
the yeah, I guess it would be webbing. The
Yeah.
stuff in between the flails that isn't part of the head yet. Getting in there is
Tricky.
yeah.
Hi. Oh, she back. She back.
Hi, kitty.
Did you do your hellos? Did you say hello to your favorite person?
Yeah, flail snail.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome, barefoot monkey. Yes, flail snails, which we have been
Flail
very
Snail.
excited to work on
Oh,
for a while there.
so much.
Yeah, if you missed when we first started working on these with Tanya, I went on a nice little TED Talk. We'll call it a TED Talk.
It was a
It
TED
wasn't a
Talk.
rant.
It was a lovely TED Talk. I enjoyed it.
It and where I talked about all of the joys of flail snails and why they are some of my favorite D&D creatures of all time. And yeah. And so we've been very excited uh when these were available as ones that we could paint. I think I might have jumped on the He was like, "Oh," and then flail snails. Like, yes.
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 It's like, oh, it wasn't a
I don't care
question.
if
It was
we
a
have a
statement.
reason.
Flail snails. Okay.
I don't care if we have no reason to paint them. We're
We're
painting
painting them. Yeah.
flail snails.
But they're also just they're fun to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you helping or hindering, young lady?
Both.
Here's what it looks like with these. And we're going to do some more work on them to get even more blending happening. But this is kind of how you want these flails to look at this point. Realizing that having iris on the bottom is... There we go. Let me just put my hand down. So you can actually see the flails.
Yeah.
There we are. Okay, so let me start crossing off things that we've been doing. So we took care of that. We did this.
I'm just finishing up a little bit more blending, or trying to anyway.
Yep. Well, by all means. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, and then what we're gonna do, Lauren, is we're gonna shift over to using the fun effects paints on the shell while the flails dry.
I have been waiting for this moment.
I know.
Months.
I'm also just
I'm
the flails.
so excited.
We're gonna go back to those makeup wedges, which are these lovely latex wedges that you can find in makeup aisles, usually where they keep cotton balls and stuff. Again, you don't want to use a beauty blender because those have a slightly different density and it doesn't quite give you the effect you want. Because remember, beauty blenders are made to literally like get deep in and like cover all the nooks and crannies of your face. We don't want to do that with the mini. So we're going to take one of these wedges again, and we're going to use our fingernails and just pluck away the bottom to give it more texture. So it starts looking like that. And if you want, you can save those little nibbly bits of foam and turn them into rocks by soaking them in a mixture of Mod Podge and like gray paint, or whatever color you want your rocks to be. But for now, I'm just setting these aside and out of the way because just watch this little Miss Thing decide. Toy!
Yeah. This is weirdly satisfying.
Isn't it though? Yeah, I'm not
It's
mad
like-
when I have to do this. I'm like, ah, yes, pluckety pluckety pluck.
Yeah, it's not quite like popping the plastic bubbles, but it's very
Right.
close. It's got
It
that
is.
same kind of feel.
It is. Okay, so what we're going to do is Lauren and I are going to jump into using the Delta Ceram Coat Flash Metallic paints. I want to play up just because these are like my favorite colors. So the set that I had listed that's in our Discord, it has a plethora of different tones you could use. This is painter's choice which ones. You could use one color if you want to just do one color. You absolutely could do that. If you want to do a blend of colors like what we're going to do today, you can do that. So I'm focusing on the lovely purple and then the aqua color shifts, which you can see they have like these fun tones that play around in the paint colors. So what we're going to do is we'll start off with sponging on the one color. I'm going to start with the purple because I honestly want the aqua to show off more. So we'll start with sponging on our secondary color first, and then the color you really want to have shown off, your first color. I don't want to say primary color because that's something else entirely. But the color you want to show off more is the one you'll sponge on second.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with the purple. Oh, hi, Hem. Sir Humbles has shown up. All right. And in this case, you don't have to thin your paints.
K-Bob says, just joined and thought you were picking cheese. Ooh, cheese.
Cheese. I miss cheese. So
Yeah.
again, with sponging, what you'll do is you'll load some of this paint onto the sponge, but then blot it off on your paper plate. And then what's going to happen is when you go to sponge this on, you'll get a speckling of colors as opposed to full coverage. which is what you want. Okay.
And knowing this is going to happen today, I actually have a second paper plate because the
Ooh, there you
last
go.
time we did this, I ran out of room on the paper plate to sponge
Fair.
stuff.
Fair. Totally fair. All right, I'm going to start by just lightly applying this. I am going to be a little bit more careful as we get towards the skin. In fact, if you wanted to protect this a little bit, a little trick, Lauren, if you're worried about getting these metallics on your mini of choices, or not your mini of choice, but on the Flail Snail's skin, you can always take either a paper towel, I just grabbed a tissue, and do a tension hold like this to protect your area a little bit.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Also, for those who have just joined, welcome. We are in the middle of painting a Flail Snail. We're probably going to do a couple seconds more with the black dragon, which is why we talked about the black dragon down there. That was kind of what we were finishing up the beginning of the show, and we'll probably finish out with making sure we get that on the base. But for the moment, it is time to make our Flail Snail all sparkly and multicolored and shiny, and I almost said shiny and chrome, and I'm like, that's not exactly. No, not shiny and chrome.
No, not chrome.
Chrome is a different kind of Flail Snail.
Iridescent.
There we go.
I want iridescent. Oop. Just bang the camera. So sorry.
Tribble says, if you're running out of space on the first plate, the second plate would be a replacement.
We need to send that one to Dexter.
Okay. No, not dropping in paint.
No, not dropping in paint. Oh dear.
I'm trying to turn the Flail Snail around, and there definitely was that moment of, oh, I'm not holding on to this in a way that is conducive to not dropping it.
Okay,
I need to fix that.
I don't want to add too much more because I don't want to obliterate the colors too much. But I'm liking how this is looking. I am going to do this again.
Come here.
There we go.
There we go.
Ta-da!
I'm
Okay,
definitely
so I'm happy
trying to
with
get
the purple coverage.
I've got a little bit more I'm trying to get on the sides here.
Totally fair. Then I'm going to jump over to aqua. Aqua. Like some coffee with your aqua. Actually, how I said sometimes I will scrape up the paint if I've overshot. Just did that with my purple, so I'm literally just picking up with the paintbrush and bloop, back in it goes.
Hey, this I could see that makes a lot of sense for how to do, and I'm probably gonna do the same thing actually. I'm just finishing out.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm gonna jump over to the turquoise. Hee hee hee. Oh, I love this color. I love this color so much. And I'm going to start sponging this.
Okay. And we'll put you there just in case I want to do more purple later.
Look at that. This is where the
what am I doing? Why did I do that? I don't know. I just took the top off of the aqua like I...
Oh, whoops. Because you're so used to doing the mini paints, that's why.
I think so, yeah.
Actually, I do know. I'm saying I don't know, but no, I actually have an idea.
Yep. Nope, that totally makes sense.
So I'm going to sponge this onto the shell going in the upper portions. But what I'm going to do next is shift to a dry brush technique to dry brush this color onto the lower section area and bring it also up to the top for the higher ridges, just to make sure we're getting all those really cool bits. Because I want to feature the aqua a little bit more. Hee hee. Oh gosh, this makes me happy.
Look at how this is coming together.
'Cause I'm happy.
Now, do you have any suggestions for how to get this in the folds of the shell without just having it be blotted in there?
I am honestly like this section, you mean?
So like both there and then also like even right here and
You don't have to worry about it
here.
because we're gonna this dry brushing part is gonna take care of a lot of that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So I'm
Good
gonna
to know,
go
good to
in
know.
now with my brush and start edging the rim of the shell here with that aqua, which is gonna give it this really neat reflective sheen. Or whatever your color of show off color choice is, whether it's aqua, purple, or what have you, or the green even. There's a really cool lime green you could do if you want your shell to be more of like a green tone.
Yeah, I'm looking at the green and the blue, and I'm kind of thinking of at least getting some of that blue in here.
Yeah.
Because the green that's the base of our shell is coming through real nicely. So I
Mm-hmm.
kind of just want more of the purple and this aqua and then the darker blue. I'm eyeing that blue.
Yeah. Well, check and see after you use this because I just dry brush with the aqua, and that's gonna kind of go across and really pull out the textures. And the dry brushing isn't going to change the color tone so much as add to the iridescence of things.
Okay. All right, dry brush.
Mm-hmm.
There.
And again, don't forget to edge the rim of the shell because
Yep,
that
I'm
will be a
grabbing.
really cool highlight feature.
Oh, sorry.
Hmm? Sorry?
Hitting the microphone, my bad.
Oh, didn't even hear it. You got gated. It gated you perfectly.
Oh, this is a challenging paint to dry brush with. I just realized.
It's not going to give you the payback like you normally see with dry brushing, if that's what you're visually expecting.
I don't know if I was expecting it, but I definitely was thinking there would be more and being more cautious than I think I need to be. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
what this is going to do with this style of paint, instead of like dry brushing traditionally highlighting things, it almost kind of blurs it more together, so you can see how the colors sort of merge more
Yeah.
while getting the iridescence going.
I know that I'm very prone with dry brushing to do more than I should.
Mm-hmm.
So I do tend to be more on the side of cautious. But this kind of paint definitely I guess forgiving is
It
the way that
is.
I'll put
Yeah,
it.
it's a
It's a
little
little
bit
more
more
forgiving in
forgiving.
that
Yeah,
sense.
it is, absolutely. I love this part.
And my paper plate is just now a riot of colors and a mess, and I love it.
Look at that. See, get the light over it so it can show off a little more.
Yeah.
So much fun.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. Oh, it's looking awesome.
This might be
Again,
one of the few times in where it actually
it is
looks.
showing up. Yeah.
It's not just showing up. I think in a weird way, it actually shows up better on camera than it does
Oh,
in real life
yes.
because I'm getting so
Sometimes,
much
yeah.
of the
Yeah.
shine off of the
Yep.
lights.
Yep. It's just fun when it gets to this point. You're like, hey, it's looking like the shell in the art.
Yeah.
Yay.
I may have to move to a smaller dry brush for that corner.
Okay.
That that fold on if the flail snail is facing forward, the fold on its right side in the back where the
Mm-hmm.
shell and the body and everything meet, trying to get back there is a bit of a challenge, and I
That's
think
fair.
my dry brush is a bit too big.
Yeah. Yeah, the one I have has like a narrow beveled edge, so it's easier for me to kind of get into narrow spots with the flipping it on its side almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with this. Because now as you move this around, you catch your pink tones, you catch your blues, you catch your greens, you get your purples. And it's looking a lot like that. The key art of it. Hee 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 hee. That's why I like these paints.
They're just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something you can use a lot of the time
No.
because how many times are you really using uh how many times you really have a thing that has this kind of iridescence to it, but
Exactly.
oh, that's so cool.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop because I could easily overdo this, and I'm actually really happy with how this is looking. So we're gonna put the snail down. Put the snail down.
I'm gonna do a little bit more and I'll put it down and I'm still I'm still kind of considering going back with that blue, the other blue, the darker blue.
So if you're thinking of that darker blue,
Yeah.
it does dry a little bit darker. Is
Okay.
no pun intended. So just kind of what you could even do if you wanted to is dry brush a little bit of what you have with the aqua, and then put some blue over that and see what that does
Okay.
before putting it on the mini itself, and see if you like that.
Yeah. I think we'll give that a try because I'm at
Yeah.
least in the bottle
Mm-hmm.
is just a really neat color
It's
and
a
I'm a fan of
beautiful,
blue.
yeah, it's a beautiful color. Honestly, like that's one I'll go to for a lot of spell effects that I have.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna put it down
These brushes.
and then I'll let it dry a little bit and then I
You can
will.
always decide, later on if you need to. Okay,
Yeah.
so we did all that. So basically, the shell itself is now done. So we're gonna go back to their yellow.
Time for paper plate number 2.
Yeah.
It's as this one is pretty darn
Right?
full.
Yeah. Okay, so looking at my notes, we're gonna go back to the yellow, whether it's the gold yellow or the sun yellow, depending on what you can open. It's really that's all we're doing. There's
Gold
different
yellow.
yellows. And we're going to dry brush again, but we're gonna dry brush the webbing between the stalks
Okay.
to bring that texture out here. So do a dry brushing of the yellow through here, and then also and also here, like in the in between point of the orange and the tan,
Okay.
and the little funky mouthpieces. That's the best way to describe those.
I 100% agree.
Little funky mouthpieces. It's a band. Everyone, please welcome Little Funky Mouthpieces.
What? All right. What style of music would the little funky
George Clinton
mouthpieces be?
stuff.
Yeah.
Funkadelic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It just feels right. All right, so gonna go in. Ooh, do not touch the shell. Pick up from the base.
Yeah. Yeah, grabbing the shell at this point would be one of those like it'd be weird to end up
Mm-hmm.
with that kind of iridescence on your hands.
Well, it's already on my wrist. It's a pretty bruise. It's like a pretty bruise. All right, so you can see here how I just went in with the yellow on the webbing and the difference between the 2 points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget the webbing has 2 sides, so you do the front and the back.
Taimu, if you're having problem with the code, remember that the exclamation point at the end is actually part of the code.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a thing that a lot of people sometimes miss. So don't be afraid to add that into the code, and it should work. I haven't heard about anybody else having issues with it. So
Could it be the 16 character thing coming into play?
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe could be
If
that as
you're
well. Although
16 characters set up, I don't know.
oh, yep, it was the exclamation point. Yeah, the I I'm I am that person who uses an exclamation point on the end of codes on a regular basis just so I can get the words that I want. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's good to remind folks because it can be very easy to forget that's not me being excited about the code, although I am. But yeah, it's part of the code.
Yeah.
You'll also see some other um you'll occasionally see some other punctuation and numbers. But yeah.
So I'm
Okay, then you
focusing this
said
yellow on like the end bits of the mouth pieces. Just as an FYI.
the little knobby bits.
Yes. The nubbly bits. Since we don't really have an official term, we're just making it up as we go along for this section.
I mean, it works for me. I knew exactly what you were talking about, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna. Basically, what I'm doing for the eye stalk part is I'm focusing on that ridge that's sort of naturally there on these and focusing this yellow on that section.
Okay.
And blending it up the eye stalk slightly.
That's definitely helping with the blending.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that on the back of the eye stalks or just on the front?
Same. Yep, do the same on the back.
Okay. Yeah, especially since the back of the eye stalk have extra doubly
Texture.
bits.
Yeah, they do. They're far more textured. So the name of the game is you don't want this yellow going all the way up the eye stalks. You're focusing on where those two colors have kind of merged together and enhancing the blending of the two.
Man, that ridge makes this very satisfyingly easy in a way.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things that make me happy about this, but in the end, it is the rainbow colors just make me happy.
Yeah.
It's such a
I just
bright,
like, yeah.
colorful. It's so nice.
I like having a colorful mini every once in a while.
Yeah.
Changes
I
it
mean, it
up.
reminds me of that first one, that the first ones that we did
Yeah,
with
the
the
Myconids.
Myconids.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are still some of my favorites.
Yeah. I'm getting quiet because I'm concentrating. Apologies.
No worries.
Okay, I'm focused.
It's that part of the Friday and where we're just getting nice and relaxed and in the
Yeah.
zone.
Get into the groove. Do doodly do.
Okay. I think I'm gonna take a second and try out that blue now that
Okay.
the come on. Oh, let go, let go, let go. There we go. Now that
What do I say?
the shell has had a bit to dry. So you would recommend it with the blue before I put it all on, just doing a little bit of dry brushing with it and then
Yeah, just to see if you
okay.
like it. Like starting a spot that's sort of like under the shell, maybe.
Okay. And for reference, who knows how well this will show up on camera. That's the difference between the two. This is the one that we put on. This is the other one that we have that I'm like, ooh, I like.
Yeah, it is a
And
nice one. I've used it on many and many, and it's just so much fun.
okay. Let's find a spot.
What?
I'm being so extra cautious now, and I need to just go for this.
Uh huh.
It looks so much more purple on the paper towel, but then once I get it on the mini,
Yeah. Mm hmm. That's just it with the color shift stuff. What are you thinking? You like it?
I think so. I'm also taking a quick look at chat because
Oh.
I'm getting mesmerized by the colors. It is not as strong as I thought, but once again, I'm trying to be cautious because what you said, and maybe it's also just more purple than I thought.
Well, it's duality. It's shifted around because it translates more blue in certain lights, and then the purple will come in as the undercolor.
That makes sense. Okay. I think I'm getting more of the purple at this
Yeah, you
moment, but
could, depending on your
it's
lighting.
very nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's a pretty one.
Yeah, I think I will just continue to use it as
Nice.
extra edging here. I'm not going to go for the whole.
Okay, so here is with the yellow. You can see how it's softened up those lines and blended it more together, which is what we want for our Flail Snail.
Mm-hmm.
So then, what are we doing now? We're going to take a little bit of the yellow with off-white and mix those together, and we're going to dry brush the body.
Ah, okay. I'll actually have to add more yellow. I was very good about my yellow coverage. Okay.
Yeah, I have to start fresh. I used up all of my yellow, so really nothing wrong with that.
Oh, geez, it's already 1:30.
Yeah.
Time flew by real fast. We do still have a couple of minutes, so if anybody has any last-minute questions about mini painting, about Idle Champions, about flail snails, because I'll always answer questions about flail snails. Go ahead and put those in chat so that we can see them. Meanwhile, I'm going to...
So you're going for like a buttery yellow color.
Okay. I'm going through a lot of paper towels today.
Yeah, that's sort of the nature of this game.
Slightly bigger dry brush. I'm gonna wait to see your swath because I'm trying to decide whether this is. I need to add some more of the white in there. Spicy Corsair wants to know, question, what would the combination of a dragon and a snail look and act like?
Oh my.
I mean, my initial inclination is you'd have the snail shell, but it would be the dragon head. It'd almost be like a turtle in that it's the shell on the back, but then the legs and the head would come out, but no wings.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry, you showed off that color and...
Right there, that one.
Okay. Yeah, I think I got that.
Yeah, and then it's just going to be dry brushing down the body with this lightened up color. Just be careful around the slime trails.
Things you say in mini painting. Be careful about the slime trails.
But this is also fun because this has such like an elephant hide type skin.
Yeah.
It's going to pop out that detail nicely. I'm actually going to go in.
And it's a nice contrast to the ostentatiousness of the shell, and then also the brightness of the flails, and like it's just a nice texture that is in nice contrast to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for the right color.
Time Humu says, what if it's just a giant snail with claws? I mean...
Oh, God, that's terrifying.
That's terrifying, but also kind of awesome. I'm here for it.
So default DM response, yes, and?
I also like the idea of keeping the flail snail disposition. So like the fun thing about flail snails as far as like using them in a D&D game is they are not an aggressive creature. So you can have your party encounter them and it won't necessarily be a fight because unless your players are the aggressors, they're just going to trundle along having fun, eating the ground. So I like the idea of like the dragon version of a flail snail would continue to have that very calm, nonplussed disposition of like, as long as you're going to stay out of my way, I don't care. Also, flail snails are already big creatures.
Yes, they are.
Dragons get very, very big. And so now I just like the idea of a gargantuan flail snail.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yes to it all, right? We'll definitely finish up the base for the next stream.
Okay. Yeah, it's another moment that I'm very glad that we left the base until last because it's so much easier to...
It's completely better that way.
Yep. This dry brush is definitely on its last legs.
Oh dear.
It's got some frayed edges for sure.
Oh, that is a thing that absolutely does happen.
But this is a big enough creature that it's not getting in my way, but definitely I think this might be the end.
Dun dun dun.
There we go. Look at all that gorgeous texture,
So
which it doesn't show up nearly as well as the shell, which is just like, hi, here I am.
So it's definitely going to be a thing where I'm just going to finish dry brushing around here. Because I also want to get a sepia wash onto the snail's body. All right, so what we're going to do really quick is, well, by nature, because of what we're going to do, is we're going to go to rust and we're going to dry brush the flails.
Nope, that's the sepia wash. We don't need that. There's rust. Now, when you say the flails, just the actual knobby...
Just the knobby parts. Like, just basically from the upper portion of the flails to about where we stopped the blending here.
Okay. To you. My dry brushes today are definitely getting a workout.
Oh yeah, totally. Seems. Just kinda...
What features do you think it would gain if it evolved into a peak creature? Taimamu. All right, so our dragon flail snail hybrid.
How do we turn into the sketching hour? Just
realized everything eventually becomes the sketching hour. No.
Funny.
If we're going with the version that is turtle-like, so no wings, but the shell and 4 legs and the dragon head, then I think it keeps the breath weapon.
Yes.
And I think the shell stays iridescent, but now each shell has a featured color. Or, because this will go along with what flail snails can do when you do attack them. There's 3 different kinds of flail snails. There's a chromatic, there's a metallic, and there is a gem. And so they have 3 different breath weapons, depending on which ones they are.
There you go.
And so the chromatic, their shell is all the chromatic shiny colors. And same for them, the metallic and the gem. And yeah, they have access to those breath weapons, but they are still very slow creatures.
I love it.
It becomes a defensive maneuver.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
But one you don't want to mess with, because breath weapons are deadly at any level. I think I'm going to be homebrewing this creature when we're done here.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Now we have these eye stalks all nicely blended into each other. With the dry brushing added in. Ta-da!
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so at this point we're going to let the flail snail dry. Because we don't want to do the sepia wash yet. We've just finished putting paint on both the body, the slug body shape, and the eye stalks, so that needs to hold off and wait.
Yeah.
The iridescent shell itself is definitely done too. What we'll do next week is take the Mod Podge Ultra Gloss and seal that up, and that's going to even take it to like yet another level. which
Nice.
is so much fun to do. But we're going to go back over to our Dargon and get our Dargon on its base.
Oh yeah, we gotta do that,
We gotta
don't
do
we?
that part to wrap up that mini. So we're gonna have carryover next week too. We'll have because the Flail Snail we have left is probably gonna take an hour tops.
Okay.
So there's a couple options we could do, which you and I can chat about once we're done.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right, let's move this paper plate.
Yeah, let me put my paintbrushes out of the way. Get all this out of the way. Carefully nudge
Grab.
you. Do. Oh, God.
There you go, shiny boy. You go sit over there.
The colors make me happy. All right, so if you haven't done these flight stand style minis before, you'll notice there is a very specific shape in the body of the creature, and this is for any of these. And there's also a shape to this as well. So it's sort of like a lock and key type of situation. So what I'm looking for is the notch, and my fingernail right now is sitting in that notch. So I know that this is going to have to plug into there and make sure the notch lines up there. All right, so maybe I'm going to do like a little test fit just to be sure.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, so see, it goes right in. And while, yes, you could technically leave this as is, much of this is going to depend on the mini that you get and how it settles in. Not all of these have such a nice tight fit like this one. This one's probably like one of the best fits I've had. So
nice.
I honestly don't recommend not super gluing these together, because what could happen is a player gets excited, hits the Dargon Mini goes flying off of its base, and things can get damaged and hurt that way. These bases provide a lot more stability, that's the word I want, than just leaving them on their own. So I'm going to take this off of its base again, and now I'm going to put super glue in the dragon's part, just to give that, to make sure it gets into those recesses, because while you could put it on here by nature, because this is standing upright, the glue is going to run down, and you don't want it running down the flight base, because then it's going to look a little funky. So it's best to put the glue inside the hole.
I'm still trying to get mine to match up. Yeah. Oh. I've lost a piece of my foliage. No.
Oh no. Luckily that can get glued back in.
Yeah.
All right. So I just filled the well up. Not fill it up. That's not the right word. What I did is I sort of applied the glue and let it run down the side. And I'm just going to let this kind of hang out. Oops, hit the camera. Just kind of let it hang out for a little bit before I attach these back together. Again, because the surface air that you can give to super glue before attaching things together, it helps with its tackiness and adhesion. So we're just going to hang out here for a little bit, about 10 seconds, give or take.
No, that's not really going on in. Why are you being so difficult?
Oh no.
Okay. I think it's there.
Okay. Alright, so I am going to insert this in now. Yep.
I'm gonna take a look, because I think I got the notches lined up, but I can't get it in there. And so I'm kind of looking at the curvature of your...
You want it so that it is curving. The curve is happening towards the back of the dragon's belly, not the front.
Okay, so it's going to curve up, and if you followed the line of the curve, it would be going to the tail.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought I was doing, but...
So this is now in, but what I'm going to do is hold this upside down for a little bit longer, like so, because I don't want that super glue to run down and out. That's not what we want to happen. I'm just going to let it live like this for a little bit. Actually, forgot this guy is darker now, so we can actually have the light on him. So you can see where it's living now.
I am still...
Really? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, it does not want to go on in. I don't see any paint inside of the hole, and I'm seeing where the notch is.
Okay. So there's a couple ways. If this happens to you, this is actually a good learning experience. If for some reason your lock and key setup doesn't lock and key together, there's a couple ways to handle this. You could always take a file and buff down the shape of the stand. And this is like a stop and go process. You buff it down a little bit, test and see if it'll fit yet. Buff it down a little bit more, test and see if it'll fit yet. And then as soon as it fits, then you'll want to super glue it in for sure.
Yeah.
Like, there's no negotiation on that one. The other thing you can try and do is take a hairdryer and warm up the body of the dragon to see if it might just be that the plastic in its hardening has kind of contracted and you physically can't get the base in.
Yeah.
So you could try that, although that one you have to be more careful because you have the paint to worry about. You don't want to crack your paint.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm going to go for the file method, partially because it'll be a little bit more deliberate.
Yeah.
Also because, this is going to sound weird, I don't have a hairdryer.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Okay.
So I might not get these slotted in before the end of the show today because I'm just gonna go nice and slow. But I'll get pictures online.
Hold on,
but yeah, I'm just not getting it to
focus.
Sit in there.
One moment. I want to try and switch the focus so you can actually see. There we go. Okay. So this is what it looks like on its base and fully done. Look at that big boy.
Yeah. And I will be joining you shortly.
Yeah. So you can see this is what our dragon now looks like after all these lovely episodes.
Yeah, the wings just look so cool.
Yeah.
I love how those turned out.
It just, even though that blue is kind of like, well, that's the blue. It's like, just hold on. Once the wash goes on, trust me on this one.
Yeah.
It just gives it still like this visual interest of, yes, it's a gray, but that gray blue is everything. So it makes those wings really pop out. All right, so that is the black dragon, the young black dragon from WizKids, all set and done. Oh my gosh, I just love the texture of these wings. Yay for the Dargan! And next week we'll finish up our Flail Snail, where basically we have a sepia wash going on to the body, and then we'll take care of the base, and then check our Discord because we'll have
Discord.gg/idlechampions.
I'll drink since you're filing.
Thank you.
So check that out.
Everyone drink. Hydrate when we're talking about the Discord.
Yes. So we'll get the details as to what we'll be doing along with the Flail Snail next week, because quite frankly, what we have left is not enough to fill 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we may do like a quick filler in style mini, like one quick mini to work on, or we might jump start another mini that's going to be a couple episodes long instead. So we shall see. We shall decide. But in the meantime, don't forget it is the weekend. So
it's the weekend that we I'm sure everybody's pronouncing correctly.
I saw someone in the chat say the Assateer, which that kind of looks like a close enough pronunciation. I'll go with that one, sure.
Yeah,
for the Magical Secrets
for
weekend, make sure you log in and take advantage of this lovely weekend. And if you're signed up for the newsletter, that means you'll get a newsletter containing a code for a free gold Assateer chest. It rolls off the tongue that way. And check that one out. And then if you haven't stopped by the website yet, FYI, there is a new blog post up, and it is all about Events 2.0 with some fantastic details. But in that information, it also kind of tips the hat to the fact that we have our 2 champions coming to you next week for Festival of Fools. We have the Dark Urge from Baldur's Gate joining us as our new champion, and we have Dadius joining us as our rebalanced champion. So you definitely want to look into that. And then what's going to happen, I mean, normally on Fridays we do our champion blogs, but What you want to do is check in on Monday for Dadius's Rebalanced Spotlight blog. And then on Tuesday, I was going to say tune in. I guess you could tune in for the blog post for the Dark Urge that gives you all the spotlight details for the Dark Urge. So that's how we're going to be handling it with the 2 champion setup that we have going with events 2.0. And that should be a lot of fun too. So yeah, get in this weekend, take advantage of the weekend buff, read the blog post that just launched 2 hours ago. Give that a looky-loo because it's going to have all the information. And if you have questions, definitely you could check in with Formation Save, which is happening after this.
Next week.
Next week. Oh,
no Formation Save this week.
No Formation Save this week. Next week. Sorry. My brain was
okay.
Like, dee-dee-doo. Hey.
That's okay.
In my defense, I was living in 2025.
I'm lucky if sometimes I'm living in the same month. So I get that.
Oh, I just jumped back into the right year before we got started. So okay, Formation Save is next week, but if you read through the blog over the weekend and you have questions, then make sure you tune in next week, and I'm sure you can pop a question in the chat and we'll be happy to help you out on a variety of streams that you can check out. So thank you to Gabe for grabbing those questions for us and popping them into the document, because juggling too minis means it helps to have another set of eyes on the chat.
Absolutely.
Chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us this week. We will see you next week. Again, go to Discord for updates on what exactly we'll be doing along with the Flail Snail. But until then, take care, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye!